Good morning. Today is Sunday, July 6th, 2025. Numerous times, I've spoken about the need for every adult to have a will for their assets that is valid in the place that you are, and to share your plans with your heirs. And the main reason that I emphasize this is to try to prevent, or at least reduce, machlokes and arguing and rivalry after a person passes away. It is my experience that disputes over how an estate is divided all too often leads to families breaking apart, not speaking to each other, and sometimes the enmity lasts for generations. So it's a very important thing to make it clear so everyone should know. There are no surprises. And it's also important to do a halachic will, that is, alongside your civil will, to have a document so that the transfer of your assets is also in accordance with Jewish law. I've discussed this in the past, and I'd be happy to advise anyone who would like my help on this. Likewise, I've spoken before many times about the importance to have a valid medical directives document. In order to have medical decisions, if a person is not able to make them themselves, to have medical decisions be made in accordance with Jewish law and in accordance with your wishes. And this will also help your family make decisions at what might be a moment of great emotion and turmoil. And also, in my experience, this is an occasion when such a life and death decision has to be made by family members that could cause, God forbid, great enmity between the members of the family. So to have it clear and to have everybody know in advance what it is that you want and what the halacha requires is a very important step. But now there's another set of directives that I advise you to prepare. And I'm also advising myself, I'm planning to work on this, and that is called a digital directive. And the question is, so many of us are on social media. We have Facebook, we have YouTube, we have Instagram, we have all kinds of things. What happens to all of that after a person passes away? And not only that, what happens to all the things on your computer? All the files on your computer. They may be stored in your computer. They may be stored in the cloud. And so in the United States, I don't know the law in Canada. I assume it's similar, but I don't know about Canada. But in the United States, there is a law called the Digital Assets Act that is in effect in most states in the United States. And that is where you choose a representative, like an executor of your will. So you choose a person that has the authority to manage all of your electronic affairs. And then, like a will and medical directives, you have to create a document. And the document has to list all of your online accounts, all of your passwords, all of the information that a person would need. Now, obviously, you're going to write such a document, you have to be very careful with it, that nobody steals it. It might be a good idea to write it on paper and to keep it in a safe place, because you're writing down all of your passwords and access to your computer and your phone and your apps. So you have to be careful of how you do it, but you have to include all of that information. And you also have to include the passwords to get into your phone and into your computer and into all of the apps that you use. You have to include every single password that you use, because it could very well be that after a person passes away, the heirs, the family, needs access to the phone. They may need access to the phone to have the contact list to know who to notify that you passed away. They may need the phone. You know that there are things where there's two-factor authentication codes. So sometimes you're going to get a code that comes on your phone that you have to be able to put in to access something. So you have to write all of this down. And make sure that there's a person who knows what you want to happen with it. Most social media accounts have something where you can have an online legacy. And what that means is, for example, on Facebook and Instagram, maybe on others, you can, there's an option when a person passes away that someone who has the passwords and who has access to the account can lock. First of all, you could just remove it. If you don't, if there's no need for anyone to ever see it, you could just remove it. But if there's stuff there that you would like people to be able to see after a person passes away, so you can, there's an online legacy. You can lock the account so nothing can be added to it, nothing can be taken away. People could still post comments, but for example, let's say an example, if you have you have YouTube with lots of videos, then maybe you want people to be able to access them even after a person passes away. So there's a way to do that. And again, you need to give instructions about what you want to happen for all of this. In addition to this, it's very, very important to write down all of the bills that you pay online. A lot of people, I know that we do this, Marcy takes care of this, that most of our bills we pay online. So you have to know, you have to be able to have access to a person's computer or phone to be able to cancel those bills. Let's say it's utility, let's say it's the bank, let's say it's some subscription to some online service. We pay our phone bill, we pay our electric bill. We're paying almost everything online. So someone needs access to that to be able to have authorization to tell them that the person has passed away, not to charge them anymore. You don't want charges that will keep accruing. And some of these kinds of things are very, very difficult to do. Especially cell phone providers and internet providers, they can be very, very frustrating to deal with once a person has passed away. So the more information you leave to a person, that more helpful it will be. What happens if someone passes away and you are the family member and they did not have any instructions for what happens to all of their digital life? So that's more difficult, and that can be quite frustrating. But you should try to close a person's email, to close a person's social media accounts if they don't want them open, because those types of things can be misused. I'll tell you a personal example. There's a person in Montreal. He passed away maybe 10 or 15 years ago. A very well-respected person. I'm not going to mention his name because it's not important, but a person, every one of you would recognize his name, a very good and well-respected person. He passed away. For years after he passed away, I was getting emails from him. And it was not from Olam Haba. The emails were not coming from Olam Haba. The emails, somebody had hacked his email account, and they were sending spam. And if a person would open that, and I see that person, and I was close to that person, and now he's in Shemayim, and he's sending me an email. But if you would open it, you could get your computer into a lot of trouble. There could be a virus, there could be malware. And so these things can be misused if they're not closed after a person passes away. And I will just share with you that both Apple and Google say their policies are that it is not possible to remove a passcode from a phone, let's say an iPhone or a cell phone, without erasing all of the data on the device. If there's a passcode on your cell phone and someone else does not have it, there is no way, according to Apple and Google, there is no way to get into that phone unless you're willing to erase everything that's there. And then, of course, it doesn't help. And so this also is an area where if heirs or family members have to manage the digital assets of a person who's passed away and did not leave any instructions, it makes a very, very difficult job for that person to take care of, which is all the more reason to leave a document and to share this document with the person you trust with all of this information. There's a pasuk in Koheles, Ecclesiastes, Ki gam lo yeda ha'adam es ito. No person knows the time that they are going to pass away. Kedagim shene'achazim b'mtzora ra'ah. Like a fish that is suddenly caught in a net, and it's fatal to the fish. Uchatziparim ha'achuzos b'pach. And like birds that are trapped in a trap. Kohem yokshim b'nei adam le'ez ra, kishetipel aleim pisom. They're people that disaster befalls them, God forbid, and they pass away without any warning. And there is not an opportunity to be able to put things in order. And again, if that happens and things have not been put in order, it leaves many, many problems for the heirs, and it could lead, God forbid, to machlokas and terrible disharmony. And so I think it's the right thing for a person, an adult, to have all of these kinds of directives, to try to reduce the possibility of division and divisiveness, and to make the occasion that is very, very sad and emotional when a person passes away, and people are sometimes inflamed by their emotions, to help to make it a little bit more calm, to reduce the possibility of anger and destructive disagreements. My friends, I wish you a great day, and I look forward to seeing you soon in person.